what we're doing, everybody, is I tried to learn how to play Napoleonics, and I didn't get past the first page without being totally clueless. So they're teaching me how to play Napoleonics.
I mean, I don't care about our viewing. I could care less if 2 people watch this because it's going to be me watching it 2 times. But, but that's, yeah. But no, so, okay.
So yeah.
Anyway,
just,
so,
all right, so you didn't get through the first page, which is fine because it's, because you don't have it. And there's going to be a lot of people, I think, that haven't done this kind of thing that are going to have the same issues. One of the things you have to think about is now you're not dealing, you're used to playing like skirmish type games where one model is one model. Okay. With this...
That's out the window.
Yeah, that's out the window. So with this, one model...
I did read on and skim through some stuff, and I realized that it said that a whole group of miniatures represents like a much bigger group of miniatures.
A stand is a company?
Each stand is more or less a company. Each model is 50 men in this.
Geez,
okay,
okay.
So you can't just move 50 men like you can one in a skirmish game.
Okay.
So a lot of that is what's going on in here, where basing and stands and all that kind of stuff is. So each man, and so this then is a battalion. So it's a French battalion.
Okay.
Okay. So that's a French battalion. So if you look over here, I've got stuff.
600 men?
Yeah, about 600 men ish. Yeah. And that would, depending on history, the battles that they fought, desertions, disease, all that kind of stuff. So it was normally around 1,000 is kind of the idea, as I recall, for French. But that would then fluctuate from, battles, disease, people getting injured on the march, desertion.
And as this is not, this is a historical game, but not historically accurate. If we would do historically accurate, the French would win a lot because of how Napoleon fought.
Well, not necessarily.
And so the games are designed so that you will have equal points. So that's why you're not going to have 1,000 guys, because that would take up the majority of your points would be just in that one unit. And so this allows you to have multiple brigades
and so now with this, so you've got battalions, which is an individual unit, or which is a unit like this, and then these 4 with their commanders, that's a brigade.
Okay.
Okay, and then these with their commanders is a brigade, and these with the commanders a brigade, and then you've got a cavalry brigade and artillery, and all together, then that makes a division. Okay, so you've got different levels of command and control.
Okay, so this is a brigade.
Yes.
What's this?
That's a battalion.
A battalion, a brigade, and a division.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you yourself are the general of the division.
And so this would represent
you.
Me.
Yes.
On the table.
Okay, and then because the division general, then you've got an escort, like a guard. Okay, and then 2 aides, aide-de-camps, and then your aides can extend your influence.
Yes. Like
So
issuing orders, morale.
Yeah. So like
what you guys do in Legion?
Yes.
Okay. Exactly. Where you've got like a bubble of influence.
Right.
Okay. So he's got a bubble of influence. The aides can extend that bubble of influence to get
and
others
they've got
into
a range they have to stay.
Yes.
And in line of sight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And that extends.
So like if
that.
there's a tree between us, that doesn't work for this.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Or woods maybe.
Not a single tree, no, because there wouldn't just be. You wouldn't just model a single tree.
Not for this.
It'd be
Okay,
a
like
forest.
in Legion, a single tree can be just a single tree.
Okay.
Because it's an individual model.
Right. It's a 1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
So
you're
you
not
would
going to
have like a green thing here
Yes.
that represents woods.
Correct. Put a couple of trees on it, and then that would be woods.
Okay.
And then we could put like another one with more trees on. Say that's heavy woods, light woods. We have a city.
Or use like different color felt, like
Right.
a light green felt is light woods.
Okay.
Dark
Dark
green
green is
felt
dark woods, or
dark
heavy
woods.
woods.
Or, yeah, heavy woods. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So that's how the kind of the way it works. Okay. So then the basing. Go ahead.
What we're doing, everybody, is I tried to learn how to play Napoleonics, and I didn't get past the first page without being totally clueless. So they're teaching me how to play Napoleonics, or at least get the basics down.
And this version is Élan Deluxe edition. It is free. It hasn't been updated since 2004, but it's the version we're going with right now. There's actually a Facebook group, and the game designer is part of it and will answer questions.
Yeah. There are, if you do Napoleonics at all, there are hundreds of different rules for Napoleonics. Hundreds of them. All have their benefits. All have a different way of looking at things. You just kind of have to
know what you want.
Yeah.
And find that rule set.
Yeah, and find the rule set that you want, or find one that, because I'm sure at some point we're going to play it a little bit, and then we're going to, because we've all played games, and we'll use it as a base, and then probably tweak this here or there to what the group likes a little bit more or less. Napoleonics, though, is if everybody's basing everything the same, and we'll kind of go over that, it doesn't really matter what rules you're using a lot of the time if everybody's basing everything. So this game is you're commanding a division, and it's a 1 to 50, so each man represents 50. You could go 1 to 20, add more stands to the units, and depending on what system you're using it, and go that way if you want to.
Change the rule,
change up what system you're using. So you've just got to find something that you really like, and kind of go with that.
So does the gameplay work like other skirmish games that I've played, where it starts with initiative, then movement, then other actions, then combat?
There is a turn sequence, yes, but
Okay.
it's not necessarily. It's you find your initiative first, then they do the. We're gonna butcher this, so we're still learning this ourselves.
Right.
But I want to say it goes like grand tactical movement, then it goes movement, then firing. But your artillery barrages, I think, happen after the grand tactical movement, but before.
What does grand tactical movement
Grand
mean?
tactical movement is the design to, this is going to be played on a 6 foot by 4 foot table, I think is what the standard is supposed to be. It allows your guys to move quickly around the board when they're not next to the enemy. So if you have reserves, because let's say you're recreating a battle, and so, or you're just keeping some of your guys in reserve, when they show up, they can move like double to 3 times as fast when they're not near the enemy, so they can move across the board and get to where they need to get. And then once they get within a certain millimeter of an enemy unit, then nope, you cannot grand tactical move anymore. You can only tactically move, because now you're close to the enemy. You're not going to be just running across. Now you have to start tactically moving.
When we played, I blocked you from.
You did. I surprised him by like having my cavalry stay outside his bubble and get all the way over into his flank, and that was just a feint, because my cavalry wasn't gonna do anything. But then he won the initiative the next turn and was able to move to get somebody within range, to where then my horses were kind of stuck, so they just had to kind of run back, but they couldn't run as far, and so now they're not back with my army. Now they're like halfway.
And so I was able to kind of take them out of the.
For about 2 turns. It took me an extra turn to get back to where I wanted them to be to help support
Just
going
because
in.
I was able to move something to keep him from being able to move so quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if he wouldn't have done anything, then they could have just came into the flank, and that's never a good idea against flying infantry.
Yeah, and so it's kind of a cool little thing that. So I do have the sequence of play, and you have it's right initiative, grand tactical movement, which you just then it's morale. It's first tactical phase.
Is that like whether you're routing or not?
It's how you can launch charges. It's how you can like get close to the enemy.
Respond to enemy attacks.
Okay.
Leadership and command.
One thing you didn't say that is important is that the grand tactical movement and the morale, you alternate. So it's going to be you go with the brigade, you go with the brigade. He goes with the brigade,
That's
you go
what
with the
I was
brigade.
going to ask next. Whether
For
it's,
for that, it's not always like that. Firing is simultaneous, so everybody will
Okay.
get to shoot, even if you shoot first and you wipe off Daren. Daren's guys can still shoot back at you because you're all
Right.
pulling the trigger at the same time.
Okay.
And then after firing is where you have the tactical movement, and then the wonderful close assault.
Okay. And is it D6?
Yes.
Yes, this is D6 based. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Rich, you've never done a rank and flank game. So as you see, all of Daren's guys are ranked up. If you get you want to be in your opponent's flanks, which is I'm trying to see. It is that is the straight 45 degree. So it is off the front of the base. So wherever he ends at, you want to be 45 is in the front. So if you're behind that line, you'll be in the flank, and then the same thing for getting into the rear. If you're like behind that line, then you're in his rear.
Okay.
Units can only shoot to the front unless they're skirmishers. Skirmishers can see 360 because
Okay.
they're not standing in line. They're
And do
skirmishing.
skirmishers
So,
show up by being
that-
staggered?
Actually, yes, and they're on smaller bases. That's what that 2 is.
Okay.
That 2 is one of his
I
skirmishers.
see. Okay.
So he has one of his units, I believe, has like 2 or 3.
Oh, my lights can all skirmish. so-
Right. So like my Jaegers, or I have my Jaegers are my lights, and all of them except for the command lance are just like that because they can skirmish out in front.
Okay.
So skirmishers in this game, you cannot shoot through them either way. I can't shoot through my own skirmishers, but your opponent can't shoot through your skirmishers.
Right.
And skirmishers cannot kill any units. They just do morale when they shoot because they're not doing the massive volley fire. It's
Right.
just we're trying to keep their heads down. They're taking shots at them. We're not really doing damage. We're affecting their morale.
Okay.
One of the things skirmishers do is because shooting at skirmishers isn't quite as effective because they're spread out.
Right.
You can use skirmishers or a skirmish screen. So I can't shoot through them, but neither can you. So if I
Right.
use this skirmish screen,
To advance your army behind.
so I'd advance my army behind them, and then I can go into line without you disturbing it or shooting at me or anything. Okay? So, and then you can't shoot at them, and then when I'm ready to shoot back, you can
Just-
pull your skirmishers back.
You can either recall them to the unit. If it's part of that big unit, they get to join the unit.
Okay.
Or if it's they're from their unit, because the skirmish range is, if I remember right, insane. It's like you get like, I think it's like 175 millimeters
Okay.
is where you can put them from your command stand.
Okay.
So
And can I shoot at these guys if I'm in the flank
yeah,
like
yes.
this?
yeah.
Yes.
Then because the skirmishers are not in between you, unless there were skirmishers in between you, then you wouldn't be able to because the skirmishers block a 2 stands width of. So they pretty much, if I'm recalling this right, the skirmishers block for line of sight more or less a base like this. It's a base twice their width. You
Okay.
can't shoot through this, and the same on this side. So then you would just put another skirmisher like here, because now that's overlapping, so they can't shoot through that spot,
Sure.
and so on and so forth.
Sure. Okay.
So as long as there were no skirmishers on that flank, then yes, you would be able to.
Now, if you did
So-
this,
Then I couldn't shoot through your flank.
Correct.
Okay.
You have 4 different states that you have your morale. You have ordered, unsteady, shaken, and routing. So this can be done by because you've been shot at, because you've taken casualties, because you're getting charged by cavalry coming down on you. There's a whole bunch of things that can cause you to have to worry about your morale, and we'll change it.
Okay.
There are 4 tests in this game. It's when you want to charge. So when you want to charge an enemy, you have to test your morale. Because you have to build up
Okay.
the courage to go running at their guns to go get
Okay.
them. Being charged, whenever your unit is charged, you have to test your morale. Because you've got guys running at you that are screaming and yelling. Shooting casualties. So if your unit has suffered shooting casualties, you have to test your morale. And then closing with the enemy test. This is when a unit is charging into an enemy unit that is like prepared to meet them. So it's you have to take the test to charge, then they're going to take the test to be charged, if I understand it. Then as they're shooting at you, because the charge happens after shooting, you take another one after that, after the shooting happens at you,
Okay.
to make sure the shooting didn't stop you from getting there.
So it's not really any different than what I've played before. It's just that you have to test more often than what I've played before.
What they found historically is like morale is why people broke more often than not.
Right.
Actually, close combat was fairly rare.
Yeah.
Actual in your face. Now they would charge for close combat, but usually one side or the other wouldn't make it all the way because of fire, or the other side would break because they didn't want.
Oh shit! Here they come.
Yeah, here they come.
Right.
So a lot of the close combat casualties would be like cavalry running down infantry that were routing or something like that. There were some instances where cavalry would charge cavalry, but a lot of times even cavalry charges would be one would veer or break or something like that. So yeah, and I've been doing a little bit more research about the whole thing because we're getting into it. Yeah, there's some YouTube and stuff to really go into.
Yeah,
There's rabbit holes.
I haven't entered that rabbit hole because
There's-
there's too many others right
but-
now.
Right,
There is not too many rabbit holes of actually going over miniature gaming
right.
in
Okay.
Napoleonics. A lot of it is
I know
28 millimeter.
Yeah.
That are the videos are out there. A lot of them are the 28 millimeter, where it's more of a one guy represents 10 sort of a thing, or it's a 1-for-1 ratio. and they're
1 for
huge.
20, I think, is.
Or 1 for 20.
28 millimeter for this kind of game?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
I've got 30s.
Yeah, there's Warlord, the Black Powder
Yeah.
uses
Yep.
has a.
They just put out Black Powder Epic.
Yep, that's a 20 millimeter or
No,
something.
it's
Is it 15?
15 or 18.
And this is 15, right?
This is
Yeah.
15. So you also have to worry about. So it talks about like, okay, so charging units do not test for shooting hits in the tactical firing phase. They test morale for these casualties as part of the closing with the enemy test. So that's where you're not going to take the test for being shooting. That's closing with the enemy, because those are the hits you took as you closed in.
Okay.
So to charge, you more or less are going to have to take probably 2 tests. One to start the charge,
Right.
and then one to finish it because you're getting shot at to go. Oh, look at
I
that.
think it was Warhammer that used to have morale checks. Because that's the only thing I really played in the 90s. And I just
Yep.
remember that morale checks were important back then.
Oh,
They
yeah.
still
And
are.
it could,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
could mean
because
that you lose.
you would, if you failed that morale check, they'd start running away.
Right.
They may not rally then. The same thing kind of happens here.
And most skirmish games don't have morale checks. So
They've
They-
got some,
They
but
do, like if you see your buddy die, you might have to check because you might run away. That's what Freeblades does. Legion does, and that's not a skirmish, but it's kind of skirmish.
I was gonna bring you guys my Legion miniatures and show you. I keep forgetting to bring that shit because it's always after a long day, and I've always got to go home first because I'm not allowed to drive my van out here. I've got to pick up my Jeep, and I just run inside and grab my stuff.
right,
and-
right, yeah, that's all
Uh,
right. So yeah, those are actually, I think they're 25s ish,
Okay.
28s. Okay. Now the difference is we could go with something like this. I've got Austrians right now they're Austrian Grenadiers, but the cost is quite a bit more now, and it used to be because these are the lead or pewter. Now they've got plastics, which are a little bit less money, but 15s are so much less expensive.
Yeah.
And now you've got plastic 15s. Warlords come out with the plastic 15s now, so even more inexpensive now.
See, I thought Warlords were like 10 millimeter. I didn't
Are
think
they-
they were 15s.
Are they 10 or?
Because I thought it was a different scale than what we played. I thought, but maybe
maybe I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe
look it out, check it out. I mean, yeah, we're horrible at this.
Yeah,
YouTube thing.
What is this YouTube thing we're talking about?
Right, we might have a link to the PDF somewhere. Maybe, probably
Maybe.
not.
If I can find it.
But it's not like we pirated this. It's out there. All you gotta do is look for it, do a search, and you'll find it.
Yeah.
So
So, grand movement.
Yep.
Or initiative first, right?
Initiative first,
And then grand
Then
movement.
grand movement.
Then morale.
then morale,
And then,
then it's tactical movement.
okay, so that's in close movement.
Yep, that's closer movement. Then it's shooting,
Okay.
and then it's close assaults.
Okay.
The tactical movement, I believe, is where you start charging.
Okay.
If I'm remembering right.
Okay.
Yes. So to charge, any player who wants to charge, the charge can be declared in either the morale or the tactical movement phase. So you can declare the charge even before in the morale phase. You can say, I know these guys are going to charge there. Let's do this. In the tactical movement phase, let's say somebody moves a little closer to you, then you can be like, and I'm going to charge them now because they moved in. You still have to take the test.
Right.
So it's
So it's not like you declare your orders before you do anything.
Yeah, you're not writing orders like some of the old, like these, when I played those years ago, you had to write your orders 2 turns in advance because of the command and control way. So you had to take each unit, write their orders 2 turns in advance, not knowing, of course, what they were doing and writing their orders. And then as it went on, you could try and change their orders, but that was a morale check. And then if you rolled too low, then they didn't do anything, and that could screw you up even more. So,
Okay.
yeah, so, yeah.
But that's not in this
Uh-uh.
version.
No,
Okay.
not in this.
Okay.
So, if you, I guess this is kind of cool, is that if you declare the charge and you pass your to charge test, you're charging. If you then fail the closing with the enemy test, because they've shot you too much and you wavered or whatever, you actually get placed 2 stands widths away from the enemy. So you are still counted as, I've closed in, I'm just now 2 stands away from you because this is where you stopped us. And now we're just going to sit here because that's what happened.
Right.
So that's still, it's not like, in some of the games I have played, at 40K at one point was, if you didn't make the charge, you didn't move. You stuck there. If you didn't roll high enough, if you misjudged your charge distance.
You try to charge and you get stopped by the enemy,
Right.
that puts you in a vulnerable spot.
Well, it puts you right in front of them.
Okay.
So that either next turn they're charging you, or now you've got this one unit sitting in front of another unit, your flank is probably open, and that's usually not good.
And this just popped into my head, so infantry can charge,
Yes.
not just horses.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can fix bayonets and go.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just noticed that when I saw the bayonets.
And I haven't seen, so some different games, and have you seen it in here yet? Special rules for the different nationalities. Have you seen different nationality special rules yet?
Not necessarily. It's more of the options in your list choices. Like, only French and British have access to Class 6 things. And in special rules for that. Like, there are certain specific British formations that the British can do that were specific to them in this, that only they can do.
Right. So
But there's
you
no,
haven't
like-
seen that because, just while looking at the Austrians and the French would do combined line and column, which some games give them a little bit of a benefit. So you'd have a line, and then you'd have 2 double columns on the side. The double columns and then the Austrians would come up in what they call battalion mass or brigade mass, and so the only thing that was really vulnerable to cavalry, because it was almost like a moving square.
Right. Yep.
And the only thing that was valuable or vulnerable would be the rear, and so they would move up. However, I wonder if that's closed column in this game.
Could be.
Okay.
Because there's different-
open column and there's closed column.
There's open column and closed column, but closed column I think is only allowed for certain nationalities.
Maybe
so that might be
maybe that's what it is. Right. But but closed column is very dangerous to cannon because cannon,
Right.
They're So like I said, we're just kind of learning these ourselves and
So that reminds me of when I used to see Napoleonics played. Does cannon work like this, where if this is where your cannon is at, these are cannons, right?
yeah.
Yep.
And you fire your cannon, it drops and then bounces through your...
No.
No,
they
it
don't.
actually has a zone of fire.
Okay.
So it's like you pick it as long as it's within range of what your cannons are.
Right.
Again, you say, okay, that's my target. It's here, and it goes a range so far behind it. But it
Okay.
won't go like over hills,
Okay.
and it won't go under. Like, so if part of the unit's over the crest of the hill, I can't hit those guys, but I can hit everybody that's in front of it.
Right.
So
Well, when I said bounce, what I meant was like
no, this is
bouncing
there's-
on flat land through the troops.
Yes, that you're shooting at the unit. There's no I have to guess. I want to guess 8 inches in front of that unit and then roll my die to see how far it lands
Okay,
and bounces.
that's what I was asking,
That's a
yeah.
fantasy from old. Oh,
Well, they
fuck
did it.
you, GW.
I've seen it in some other games also, where and then if there would be so many so far behind it, there would be 3 or 4 inches or whatever behind it, where you could take casualties to a lesser extent behind.
Let's see here.
And that's another problem that you have when you play a lot of different games. Is you remember all kinds of rules from all kinds of different games.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then some you want to incorporate and some you don't. You go, oh, well, that would be kind of a cool thing to do. And,
yeah.
Let's see, I'm trying to find it, because it's an actual term.
So, Daren, why did you bring those out? What are those going to add to what you are doing with the other?
This is some of, because you haven't done a lot of this, and you haven't researched a lot of this.
Right.
This is Osprey's Men at Arms series, and a lot of people that have done some wargaming, historical wargaming, know what these are. Okay. So these are basically research that's already been done on the period that we're messing with. So you got flags and different units and uniforms and
banners, heraldry,
commanders, pictures of the uniforms, pictures of like what the cannon actually looked like, limbers, colors, because the different armies use different colors on their artillery, and if you want to look at like Napoleonics, one of the cool things about them on the tabletop are all of the different uniforms and how the Hussar units French Hussar units are, some of them are gorgeous, some of the different colors they use, so it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to paint it. In fact, in my division over there, I've actually got some Swiss. The French had a bunch of Swiss allies, not a bunch, but they had some Swiss allies. So that it can, when you get tired of painting blue, you throw a different. We're going to make some allies, so we can paint a different color. So that's what this stuff is. Because I don't have the French books yet, but this is when I was working on the Austrians for the 30mm Napoleonics. So you can see kind of what the uniforms look like for that. And then, so those are Grenadiers, and I think right in here. So if you look, there's some Austrian Grenadiers, Austrian Hungarian Grenadiers.
Yeah.
Okay, I lied, Rich.
Okay.
You can do both kinds of shooting with your artillery. You can do a bombardment procedure as long as you have at least 3 stands of guns or more, to which you estimate without measuring where you want your target point to be from a line.
Okay.
From the center of the battery. And a battery is a very specific, all your guns are close together as formed in a battery. Right. And then it goes from there, and it will fire. The width of the bombardment zone is double the width of the stands firing, and then 150 millimeters deep. So if you've got, whatever that is, 3 guns sitting over there, right there?
It's
3 guns, so it would be double that, so it would be 6 guns width with 150 millimeters deep. That's the box that it's in. Then there's tactical artillery firing, which it's the similar manner as bombardment, except you roll a chart, and then you've got a tactical fire zone, which extends. That was the box that I was. And this was more of you need to be in that 22.5 degrees, like when you're shooting with your other things, and then there's a zone of what can be hit, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So there is both. There is the I'm gonna guess, and that's how far it's gonna go. And there is the no, we're aiming down the sights and we're shooting. It's a smaller box because that you're not bombarding. You're actually aiming and shooting.
Right.
So.
Darren, can I see?
Absolutely. And there's going to be benefits to each one depending on what the tactical situation is.
Yes, and your target. If your target is a dense target, like you're in column, or you're in square,
you got a bunch
or
of
you're in
guys.
closed column, because closed column is a thing, it's the reinforced column that is British infantry only and all cavalry.
Okay.
All nationality cavalries can do it because that's how they usually charged in, I guess. So, but there is no specific like, you're playing the French, so you get a +1. Of course, you do though with your artillery. If you take an artillery brigade or whatever, you've got that French rule that you can roll that extra d6
Right.
in there. But there is no like, okay, the Prussians have a better this rule,
Right.
in the English have a better morale rule.
I think
in,
as I recall, as I remember now, some of the units get some benefits.
have special benefits,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's more in the units you pick, not
Right.
a nationality.
And the class of unit.
Yes, like I said, only the French Guard and the English Guards get class 6, which is the highest class you can get, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, but
They're expensive, but
really expensive. Yeah.
What are these classes?
So the classes
See, we
dictate
just-
how well trained your units are.
Oh, okay.
One being like a militia,
Yeah.
untrained rabble, partisan sort of a thing, and 6 being the highest class. That's the French Guards, the English Guards. Those are your ultra professional, crack, super commando veterans.
Okay.
Class 2 would be your standard trained army of the time. Class 3 are veterans. Class 4 are the elites, and
that's-
I put that in quotation marks
Yeah,
if
because,
I'm in camera or
yeah,
not.
Yeah. So the elite class 4 means they might not be elite troops, but if they're elite, they believe they're
They
elites.
believe they're elites, and they have a special status.
So,
So,
like-
shooting wise, they shoot better because
Right.
they always shoot on that
So they're the pirates.
Yeah, no.
They're like the noble special forces type guys that
Oh, okay.
we think we're so cool, but we've never really been in the mud, maybe.
Okay.
Or it could be that they've been in the mud and they're that good. I mean,
Right.
it's
So
both.
it could be either one or both.
But there
Yeah.
are there's a better bonus for class 3 in certain things than class 4.
Right, because class 3 are regular troops that are experienced.
That are actual
or
veterans.
than
Okay.
class 4. Yeah.
So,
So like if so I can take each battalion of French has lights.
We've got sun.
Oh yeah, sun's out. It's been like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Each battalion of French has lights and grenadiers. Okay. Now what you can do is you can make combined grenadiers. So you take, which is what I've done. You take all your battalions, you pull all the grenadiers, and you form grenadier battalions out of them. Okay.
Okay.
Now grenadiers are class 4 or 5. Okay.
Okay.
Now a guy is made a grenadier sometimes just because he's bigger. Okay. Then they take the biggest dudes, give them great big hats, and go, "Congratulations, you're a grenadier."
Okay.
And that is okay. Now they're elite because that's kind of what they're called.
Okay.
They can also be the more experienced, biggest badasses. So that's kind of where you get that class 4, class 5 thing.
So I gather that each of the different types of models have different color schemes, right?
Yes, they can. Well, okay.
So yes and no, because certain things like I'm trying to find a good class of this. So for the Grand Duchy of Warsaw, because I've just opened up to that and that's what I have. There's line regiments from 1809 to 1812. So sometimes it will depend on when you and your group have decided to start playing. Again,
We're doing what it.
I don't go for historically accurate. I just play with cool historical minis. So, but regardless, we're going to say you're taking a line regiment of 1809 to 1812. It's a class 3/4. That means to include this unit in your force, you have to take a battalion of each. You have to take a class 3 and you have to take a class 4. It doesn't state how many, so you could load up on the 4s and not take so many 3s, or vice versa. Load up and take a whole bunch of 3s and only take a small unit of 4s. But you have to take one of each. So
Okay.
that kind of dictates what you
So
can take.
to answer your question, maybe I can help with this. So, Austrians, they always took their grenadiers, which are their like class 4, class 5 guys,
Right.
and they split them off and they made grenadier battalions. Okay, so each battalion, they'd have a first and a second battalion. So the first battalion would have a white flag, and the second battalion would have a yellow flag. Each battalion, they would have, so their colors, they have white uniforms, right? And then their collars and their cuffs and their tails would all have like the company colors or the battalion colors. So
Okay.
these guys have dark blue, these guys have a light blue, these guys have a purple, Okay? Now, the reason that they've got all the same color in this unit is because they've been taken from all the other battalions and put together as one.
Okay.
Okay? So, ordinarily, one of these battalions, if you're Austrians, they would all have a little bit smaller hats or stove-type hats, and they would all have the same facings on them, the same dark blue.
Okay.
Okay? And that would indicate that it was that battalion. Okay? And then the way the Austrians were, they would have 2 battalions in the field. So they would have 2 dark blue battalions. One would have a white flag and one would have a yellow flag.
Okay.
I know, and that's kind of somewhat confusing. All right?
Yeah.
So, like with the French and their different companies, the palms on top of their head in this 1809, I think. The palms on top of their would be the different company colors.
Okay.
Okay, so the companies would all have different colors on the tops of their, and then like,
So where does a company fit in to what you guys told me?
okay,
Company would be a stand.
it'd be like a stand.
Oh, okay.
Okay, probably 2 companies, 2 stands.
Maybe, yeah, it's-
because it's a 50 to 1. But yeah, basically
Okay.
a stand.
Yeah, it would be because I think they talk about when the skirmishers are companies
Yeah.
going out, and the
So
skirmishers.
so
are
basically, each 2 guys would be a company. I just did it as
Okay.
one. All right.
Okay.
But that's also so when we're playing, Daren knows. Okay, this is my one unit, and now my other unit is
Yeah, it's
the green with what is
Yeah.
that, white on the left?
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So yeah, and for us, I'll probably mark the back of the base too for the different battalions.
I know, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. But yeah, so and you using Italians, their uniforms are French basically because they were conquered by France really early, and so they basically used a green version of the French uniform, and a lot of that is the same organization as France because it's
Ran by France.
yeah it was
Right.
they were run by French, so yeah, there's basically the same organization.
So the other kind of going back, since we're talking about uniforms and colors, and these books like that what we showed you, you try and find them now, they can be quite expensive. I mean, there's some of them out there are like $30.
yeah, so,
Just go on Pinterest. That's what I went.
yeah.
Go online and you can find a plethora of.
You can find the plates, the colored plates, and how they're supposed to look. But if you want to read about it, you do.
Then you do need to get the book. Yes.
And YouTube has got a ton of information on Napoleonic uniforms. I mean, a ton and you can be as
generic as you want. You can type in Napoleonic Italians and you'll get probably hundreds of hits back. What you want.
so Napoleonic Italian uniforms, and and it'll show you the different colors. There is one that actually has uniforms, and it's like a digital drawing of a uniform, and then the different colors and cuffs and all that stuff. I did one for the Hussars not too long ago, and it showed the different colors and the facings and how many lattice work, how many buttons and all that other kind of stuff.
Right.
So you can get now.
go down the rabbit hole.
I did more for the 28s and 30s than for the 15s because
You can't see the 15.
well I'm old now.
3 foot good, man.
And dude, they're painted and they're on the table, right? Painted is good.
Pink is good.
But
They
yeah,
look like a cohesive force.
yeah. So yeah, you can go down there and you can find tons, and then you can do a little research too. Where I found one, Napoleonic infantry and the basics of Napoleonic infantry, and it was like a 12-minute video.
Yeah.
Right, and it just talked about the companies and the battalions and how they were made and what the different names were, like the Voltigeur, which I don't speak French, but they were originally because these are a bunch of guys that were fit and really in shape and could vault into the saddle, right?
Oh my.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was kind of one of the things that they were able to do, and they were basically like light troops that were in the units, and they had different plumage and all that, called something different. Okay. So there's sometimes the names.
Yeah. When I left last week or whenever it was that we last met, I saw these first couple of pages and got through this, and I was just like, oh shit, man. And
it can be.
kind of didn't read for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
You can go blank stare,
But
50-yard stare.
Yeah.
With you guys explaining it, it's not that different than games that I've played. So
Right,
I just
exactly.
got to get through the terminology.
Right. And the best way, I mean, and again, and I say this a lot. I don't know if I've said it on any of the videos. The best way to learn it is to play. Put
Yeah.
crap down and just start walking. Okay, even if you're by yourself, get two battalions and be like, all right, you're going to start here, you're going to start here. I don't care anything else. We're just going to go through this. All right, we're going to roll this initiative. We're going to roll this initiative. All right, now we're going to do the grand tactical
How
move.
far can you move?
How far can we move?
Changing formation, what does that cost?
That's what you taught me with X-Wing. That's what I did with X-Wing. And that's
X-Wing,
how come
flip
I
a
could
coin.
fly Echoes so good.
Flip a coin. Get to the quarters.
So let's see. Okay, I want to change this unit, and I want to send out skirmishers. And then you look through the book.
I need a bigger
That's what I
apartment,
said.
though.
Oh, okay. Now I want to do artillery. Let's see how this works, and then, or I want to see how cavalry works because they're quite mobile.
Yeah.
They're a lot more mobile than you think.
Yeah.
When I was like, wait a minute, if I just stay outside this, I can get all the way over to here because you have to pay for wheeling, but wheeling is only off of the top model, and I mean it's just, yeah.
Okay.
It's neat. Really, really looking forward to putting some models down and
And rolling dice,
rolling dice and
deleting units, and
yeah.
because
Like the French. Right.
You know what's really convenient about recording this? I don't have to remember shit. Because I'm going to be watching this 5-6 times as I edit it anyway.
right. Oh, and like that's like mine. I've collected the Confederation of the Rhine.
Yeah.
Well, that was created by Napoleon when he broke up the Holy Roman Empire.
Okay.
He's like, and the Germanic states are now broken up. Prussia and Austria, you don't get to be these big things, and you guys are going to work for me.
Okay.
So I was just like, At the time, we had a whole bunch of allies, and Daren was the only one that had French. Everybody else was either English or Russian or Prussian or
So Jeff is running Austrians. Kevin is
Russians.
Russians, and his are already painted. He's got a division.
And then I think Josh said he had British. Or
Some,
somebody had said they had British.
When was the last time you guys played this?
It's been a while. It's been a while.
It was before all the COVID.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. After I left?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This was just something that I was driving around and Darren's like, well, here's this. And then Daren made sure that I agreed that I'm not telling you to get in. Like, yes, Daren, I know you are not telling me to get into
not
this.
my fault.
But talk to me
my
about
fault.
Napoleonics.
Yeah.
Because I've always loved the scale.
Yeah.
Like, I am a huge Total War geek.
Yeah.
And this is a lot kind of like, you're gonna move big blocks.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the tactical. I mean, this version of the rules hits a lot of the buttons that I like. It's got the big grand tactical movement. It's got then the smaller. Okay, this division, this brigade of my division has to go and do this job, and so I get to kind of control that. And then it's got a lot of nuances that I like. Not everything is perfect.
No, but.
But
Same.
for the price, you can't beat it. I mean, it was free.
So free.
Free
for one
is free.
thing.
Right.
Free rules and
Right.
15s. So
Because there's other games out there that are 10. There are other games out there that are other 15s. There's others out there that are 28s.
there's
And
6.
you can use any of those rule sets for as long as you and the people you're playing against have based everything the same. You can interchange.
At least close.
Right. You can probably interchange any of the rule sets. But I mean, there's so much you can do. And Daren and I have talked about many times about just filling this table with mats and then just having a huge, big core army battle.
And the cool part is too is
You mean like you did with Flames of War?
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Exactly.
And it looks really cool, and it's
Yeah.
a lot of fun, and it takes all freaking day, and a lot of times you don't get done.
Yeah.
But the photos and
the stories.
and
I mean,
yes,
Those pictures that I put in our
Yeah.
last video of you guys playing
Right.
that Flames of War game.
Oh, and that
I'm
wasn't
like,
even a big one.
God, that was an awesome set of pictures to represent the memories of that day.
And that was a small, just 4-person. I mean,
Yeah.
those were just 2 standard sizes. I think that was only like
that wasn't when we
2000 because that was when Andy and Tim came
Yeah.
out here,
Yeah.
and it was you and Tim versus Andy and me, and Andy had never played Flames of War. He's like, "Oh, I'll roll dice."
Yeah. The one time we had Dave.
Oh my God, which time? You guys did the D-Day invasion.
Yeah, we did.
Then we
D-Day.
did the-
Well, D-Day was at the store.
At the store, we
But
did
then
Mind.
Yeah, here we had the.
Oh, you had the big.
Yeah, so he had the big town.
Yeah.
The miniature building
I
authority town.
missed that game.
Miniature building authority town. I had all the hedgerows. We had an open field. We had, and this is a 5x10 table, so we used the whole table, and we started at one end and went the other way, and it was, I mean, it was huge, you know.
Well, we did. It was I think 3 tables when we did the one I came up with. Was Patton got the green light, and so it was a what if of World War II that at the end of World War II, Truman tells Patton, "Yep, we need to go fight the Russians now while we're over there." And so we did a Russian and German versus Allies and Finns, because Tim was there and Finns would fight the Russians.
Yeah.
So it was 3 Americans and 1 Finn versus 2 Russians and 2 Germans. And I had my Fallschirmjägers, Dave had his Germans, Ware had his Lend-Lease.
One of the biggest Flames of War Russian armies I've ever seen in my life.
Then Kevin had his Russians, and it was so much fun, and it was great because my Fallschirmjägers were Monte Cassino. And so they were very defensive, dug in. I'm throwing out minefields and everything else was part of my force that I brought. And Tim has got all of his M3 Lee tanks that the Russians get that are dirt cheap. And he's like, "Wait, what are those things up there?" I'm like, "Well, those are minefields." He's like, "Well, that's gonna." I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's gonna hamper him too." And all of a sudden, turn 2, he's like pulling all of his guys back because Daren, with all of his tank destroyers and Shermans, are just like, "Oh look, M3 Lees. Let's go ahead and double shoot, and we'll double shoot again, and we'll shoot and move," and like he's just losing guys left. I
was hot. Yeah.
And like on turn 3, I go to Dave, and I'm like, "This flank's gonna fall. I'm gonna need help." And Dave's like, "I don't think I can help you," but he's like, "Kevin's pushing it over there." So it was like we were doing a semicircle. It was Kevin had pushed Jeff. Was Jeff on that side?
Yeah.
Because Tim was in the middle with his Finns and his artillery, just trying to lay down stuff on Dave and me.
Tim's artillery on I think the first turn, because little Tim had the Finn artillery, because Big Tim had so many tanks in such a small area. And he fired all that big
squares,
the big square artillery.
Rectangles.
Yeah, and just like.
It turned into the fact that Daren couldn't get over because there were too many wrecked holes. So I'd be like, "All right, I can move up to here now. My movement's out." I'm like, "That's the only thing." I'm like, "He can't shoot me until he gets within a certain amount because my guys are dug in and veterans." So I'm like, "I'm just not going to shoot." And Dave's like, "Why aren't you shooting?" I'm like, "Because he can't shoot me back right now, so I can't hurt him. We're going to wait till he gets closer." I've got like 4 Panzers in my army and like a couple AT guns, and I'm just like, when he comes around the corner, we're going to give him 1-4, and then I'm going to be dead, guys.
So there were so many wrecks in front of me that I killed so much shit.
And it was hilarious because neither side, because we got to talk beforehand, neither side, there was a huge like double wide bridge in the middle. Nobody, the whole thing was just like, we're just going to deny
Nobody
that.
could get
Nobody,
to it.
well, no, it was, nobody's plans was even to cross it. Like, Dave and I were supposed to hold the middle while Tim and Kevin crushed it on the sides with their hordes, and their plan was Jeff and Daren were going to come out while Tim held the front, or held the middle with his artillery and his guns. So, like, we're just sitting in our pillboxes dug in, and we're just like, he's not moving. We're like, yeah, well, we're not
Don't
moving
you
either.
wish you had a video of that day?
That was amazing. And then we did and then we had the D-Day landing, where it was it was so awesome because they did actual cotton balls with random numbers for Andy's paratroopers.
Yeah.
For where
so you didn't know where he was.
He didn't know they had this bucket and they just went like this with the cotton balls. And some of them had nothing on it, so it was nothing there. But they'd be like, "All right, I'm going to activate my paratroopers so I get to turn over this many." And so he would just randomly pick, "Oh, this is from squad 2, this is from squad 3, blah blah blah."
Yeah.
But again, we also made up our own rule of any paratrooper together could just form a unit. They were never considered out of coherence because, this was from squad 2 and this is from squad... No, because the paratroopers trained to intermingle and oh my god, it was so much fun.
It was a really cool idea.
It was.
because everything was already set up. And all right, toss them, and all those.
And then he's like, wait, so that's what I got. I'm like, that's where all your guys are going to start. He's just like, well, there goes my plan of doing this. I'm like, well, yeah, we weren't going to, because there's actual paratroop landing stuff that you could do, and I
we just threw it out
just
there.
tossed it. It was great.
He was like, but it didn't help you guys, or it didn't help the Germans at all, because
Oh no, because it'd be like, oh look, there's two. Let's only two. Yeah, we gotta go deal with it. We got all this other stuff over here, and our guys all still have to stay together in a unit. So we're just like, I guess send the Greyhound over there to go deal with them because they don't have any anti-tank stuff. All right, we'll go send the armored cars that way. And then
that was fun.
Fun times.
Yeah. And poor Jeff on the landing got
hosed with his. Are you talking about the American?
Yeah. Oh my God.
He couldn't roll for.
He couldn't roll to literally save his life.
Yep. And then you guys did another one that somebody else did, and it was like I counted up the forces, and it was like 3,000 Allied forces versus like 1,000 points of Germans. I'm like, wait, where's the rest of the German? Oh no, this is all he gets. He's got these emplacement guns here. I'm like, they can't do anything to the beach because it was all these 88s back in the town because that's where the 88 guns were. I'm like, well, yeah, but you got all these free 88s. And I'm just like, you guys still have a whole 2 platoons to come in? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, or companies. I guess is what they were. I'm just like, Dave, this isn't looking good. I showed up late, so I didn't get to play. I was like, Dave, this is. He's like, oh, I've lost. He's like, I'm only gonna try and kill that unit over there, and if I can kill that unit, I win. Moral victory.
But yeah, so
this scratches again that big itch of we'll be able to do a huge game.
Yeah,
and we'll be able to put in the no, you have to be given orders from your corps commander.
Right.
And those are the orders you have to try and, to the best of your ability, do until you're given new orders. So if Daren tells me I gotta go capture that hill, alright, I gotta move my guys to capture that hill, unless maybe we'll make it a roll to be like, well, no, we see the battles developing elsewhere, I want to break orders and go do something else. Well, that'll be a very high roll I'll have to make to try and break orders from Napoleon.
For command and control, that kind of thing. Yeah, so it's just, and I am, because I'm an idiot, I've got a division that's painted. I'm currently working on a second division.
He wants a corps.
Yeah, because in this game, I do. I want a corps. Yeah.
You had one, and then you gave your Italians away.
Yeah, I gave them away to somebody else. I'm
right. Yeah.
Somebody over there's got Italians.
Well, do you want them back?
No, because I've already ordered stuff to replace that. Yeah, because I've always kind of had my eye on the Bavarians, because they've got kind of a sky blue, powder blue kind of uniform, and they've got these helmets with what they call the caterpillar, this great big plume, black plume on the top.
I think the hussars head.
Yeah, they're really cool looking, and so I was like, I get tired of painting them when I get done with this division, so then I'll throw in an allied division.
And then also in this game, Rich, like as your battalions start taking casualties, you can actually combine battalions together.
Okay.
So like, oh look, that one's got 4 left and this guy's down to 2. Well, you can just be like, if they move together, they can combine their forces together. And then whichever was the more numerous, that's the class. So if you had like a class 4 and a class 2.
Did 40K ever have that?
No.
Because that sounds familiar, like I've done it before.
No, they've
40K and
not in fantasy.
Either.
Okay.
No.
Maybe I've just seen other people do it in a game.
It's I've seen it in other games before, like in other skirmish type games where you had units. You could do that. Oh, hey, these guys lost their commander, so they're going to come join you. But yeah,
and that would be probably more helpful in some of the bigger games that we plan, where you've got units that have been shot the heck up. The battle's kind of moved on. They were in bad morale. They sit there for a while, maybe rally.
Right.
And then you got 2 units that each have 1 stand left, and maybe another one's got 2. You can combine them, and now you've got a unit that fights, because the die rolling for shooting is like 1 die per stand.
Yep.
So 1 stand
only rolls 1 die.
only rolls 1 die.
And you usually are going to need like a 5 or a 6 to cause a casualty. Otherwise, if you roll like, depending on again the targets, what they're in, what you're in, if you roll a 4 or even a 5, you might only count for morale. Okay. You shot at them, so they're going to cover, but they don't take any. They only take a single.
Of that,
and
how does that part work?
And it takes 2 hits to remove a stand.
Yes. So you would roll. So we'll say we've got those 3. Yes.
Yes.
But certain units, if you roll a 6, count as 2 hits.
Yeah.
And some units, when you roll a 5, count as 2 hits.
Okay.
So,
So
like your class 6
when
French guards.
Oh, you're gonna grab some dice.
Yep.
Cool.
So this unit, okay, it's got 3 stands,
Yeah.
okay, and so I've got 3 dice, and you want to grab the chart.
I would love to grab the chart.
Thanks.
I have the chart.
You have the
So
chart.
it depends on your range. So there is. Oh, whoops! Nope. Never mind. That range matters for artillery, not for rifles. So you've got steady musket volley fire. Class 4 and higher always use that table, regardless of if they've shot before. Otherwise, then you have unsteady musket and all rifle volley fire. So that would be if you are shooting a second turn in a row with class 3 or lower. You would use this chart. It does matter with range.
Yeah.
The maximum they could shoot out would be 175 millimeters, but you're only going to be able to hit line and dents, and you need 5s or 6s to cause a hit. If you're out to from more than 30 up to 75 millimeters, you can hit if they're fast and dispersed. So cavalry moving fast, you'll be able to hit. And then line and dents, a 4 and 5 is a hit, a 6 is a double hit.
What does line and dents mean?
That is how you are your formation.
Okay, so this is line.
Okay.
Okay, this would more likely
Column
be-
is dense.
This is dense. This is
Okay.
dense. Okay, so if you're shooting at this, you do more casualty shooting at this.
Nope, they're the same for rifles. It's different for artillery.
Artillery. Okay, but so yeah, so shooting at this, it's just what you're
Dispersed
shooting
would be
at.
like shooting at skirmishers because they are dispersed. They're not
exactly.
lined. They're not ranked up.
So you're shooting at
So
this.
would you say that when it comes to combat, you're gonna be looking at this chart almost every time?
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
absolutely.
In fact, I'm considering now. I work for a printing company, One Step Printing in Davenport, Iowa. If you're looking for some printing, or your printing needs, we've got it. When I go to work, I'll probably
Does that mean we're sponsored?
we ain't getting no money from it. Well, actually, I guess we are because that's where those books.
Strike that. We're not putting that in our video without getting sponsored.
Hold on. Does the books came from there, and I had them printed there. So I guess are we kind of sponsored?
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess so.
And we just paid for the ad by giving them the ad paying for the books. So
Okay.
yeah.
Our first sponsor.
Yeah.
Oh,
shit.
Unintentional sponsor,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh, the channel's done.
Yeah,
Shut
I
it
know.
down.
Now we got to make more videos.
I guess-
with sponsors.
Yeah.
Hey, I talked to a guy the other day about that.
Yeah, we just did that.
Yeah, so I think what I'll do is I'll have them blown up and printed on like a big. I mean, how big do you want it? We could put it on a. Yeah. I can.
Yeah.
I actually can.
I'm blind.
So it actually gives you the target definitions for what they are. So line are
Oh, okay.
targets are cavalry, infantry, and artillery deployed in line. Troops lying down in any formation are considered line.
Okay.
Light cover takes precedence over everything except heavy cover. Heavy cover takes precedence over everything else. Doesn't matter if you are in closed column, whatever. If you're in heavy cover, then you use the heavy cover column, which is the worst of all of them.
So if this line is shooting at enemies that are medium range
Yep.
and they're dense,
And they're in a line themselves,
okay,
or they're in column. It makes either or because it's the same.
It's the
Line,
same.
line and dense are the same column.
so what does
So steady, he would
This
roll.
mean-
It would be
4 or
so
5?
if they were in medium range, if he rolls, he'll roll your 3 dice. So he rolled a
Nice.
6, a 4, and a 2. The 2 does nothing. The 4 counts as 1 hit,
okay,
and the 6 counts as 2 hits. So he did
Okay.
3 hits. So that removes 1 stand.
okay.
1 stand is destroyed, and they count as taking. Well, that would be a full stand, sir. There you go.
Okay.
So,
Are we sure about that?
yep,
Okay.
because you're in line, you're not skirmishing. If you were skirmishing,
So
And they were out skirmishing.
So they don't count as so. Okay, I guess the question is, so these guys have skirmishers,
right? If the skirmishers are, well, no, if they are out in front of,
right? But if they're not, that doesn't count as a standard move.
no, I don't believe I'd have to look at that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a very
So
interesting.
Yeah, because
So the double H means it's a double hit.
Oh, okay.
So-
That's what that means. Okay.
HH is a double hit because you need 2 hits to do a wound.
Okay. Okay.
So that's why when you have your class 6 guys get up in close range on 5s and 6s.
So on this one, a 5 and a 6 makes 1 hit.
Correct.
Okay.
So because you're at such a long range, there is no option for a double hit
Right,
off of
right.
1 die roll. You have to
Sure.
roll multiple dice.
Sure. Okay.
So it says roll a d6 for each elbow stand firing. For every 2 hits, remove a stand. Single hits count towards the morale test only. No stand or figure is removed. Or in the case of a staff, engineers, train, and artillery are also rolled for the effective damage. All units that are hit are required to take a morale test. So even if you only get that single, so let's say you only hit with that 4. It's a single hit. He doesn't lose anything, but he still has to take a morale test. He
Because
could
he
still
got
become
hit.
shaken because they came close, they were shooting in his direction, and now the guys are going, "Well, do we want to be here? Maybe we don't want to be here anymore."
And does that morale test happen right now?
No, it happens only in the
On
morale
the next
phase.
phase.
Correct.
Okay, or the next turn.
As far as I understand it.
And so do you have some sort of marker? You
Yes,
put here
that's
that-
where we would use like the red
Those-
markers
okay.
to show how many hits they've taken,
and that
etc.,
they
etc.
have to take a morale
Yes.
test. Okay.
So the
Well, that's actually, I mean, we have it look. Let's look to see what the morale section says.
so like, for instance, you can use like these yellow for each hit that it takes. So if this unit shoots at them and they take a hit, that takes a hit. They shoot at them, they take a hit. And then morale. If they're disordered or something like that, use a different color to mark
Okay.
what the
So there's going to be a lot of markers on the table.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Okay.
And then there'll be cotton balls to show this unit actually fired, right?
Oh, okay.
Because then if they fire next turn and they are not class 4 or higher, they have to roll on this chart. And this chart is worse than this chart.
Okay.
Because that's showing that, hey, they can't see, the troop is shaken, they're irregular troops. Class 1 troops always roll on the unsteady. They never roll, because they're so cheap, they never roll on the higher chart.
So is that why I've seen on gaming tables before stands that have cotton glued to them?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. It just shows that they fired. Okay.
Well, it kind of depends